It's high noon in Jamaica on Wednesday, the 4th of October 2023. And this is The Bridge 99 FM. Broadcasting on radio, telecasting on internet TV to Jamaicans all over the world. That's the purpose of this station. Indeed, its premier and perhaps its sole purpose, to create the vehicle, the medium, the bond for Jamaicans, people of Jamaican spirit and affection all over the world, to know what's going on in your country, to recognize from the banter, the interchange, the questioning, the interviewing of the Honorable Colonel Charles and myself, that amidst all of the difficulties and travails and troubles of Jamaica, there's a strong national spirit which binds us together. And we want to make sure that we transmit this as clearly as possible. Stay tuned then to the public eye on the Bridge 99 FM. Call in if you will. The WhatsApp number is 876-551-5782. And the studio line is 876-676 and 4996. So, let me give that to you again, 876-676-4996. And you can download the mobile app from the Android Play Store and the Apple Store. It's The Bridge 99 FM. There's no other such opportunity on Jamaican radio, you know, to link together. Yes, and to draw together persons with considerable experience in public life, both of us, to share our thoughts on the events of the time in Jamaica. So thanks very much for joining us. It's 2 minutes after 12 o'clock. Later on this afternoon, Julian Robinson, the Member of Parliament for Southeastern St. Andrew, he has been making some statements to the Committee of Parliament, which is trying to develop a job description for members of Parliament. And you should have seen Colonel Charles twitch when I just mentioned that, because both he and I know that that is a very difficult prospect. Let's discuss it with a thoughtful man, Julian Robinson, later on. And then after 1 o'clock this afternoon, as you'll get from our early discussions, we're very worried about the approaches to human development among our young people. This week we've had the news that a lot of children have been sold sweeties outside the school, which are laced with marijuana, and it has caused sickness and distress. How that kind of thing ever happens, talk to our teachers and they'll tell you the very considerable level of mental illness and of behavioral abnormality in our schools that is coating the learning, preventing the progress, the productivity of our people. Dr. Lakim Samaj, the psychologist, will join us after 1 o'clock to discuss these things. And also, he's written a book. I don't think he wrote it precisely for Purnell and myself, but it may apply. It's about growing old purposefully.
Purposefully?
Yes. He'll tell you the full title.
Well, you know what that means.
What that means
is that you can do things to your body that push you faster.
Push, yes.
If you live up to a certain standard.
Push you faster to the grave or push you faster?
Well, you get older, so you know, sure. This is all that gets to the grave.
Yeah.
But what I mean, if you eat the right food, take the right exercise, avoid certain things, they say you live longer. And it does seem that if the opposite is true. Okay. I told you about a young man who is a Kingstonian, and he used to come to the country on a Sunday with his parents, and he carried his bicycle, a tricycle, right? And line up about 10 of us to get a little ride, like from here to there. Because we're going to ride tricycle for the first time we've seen this thing.
Boy, I tell you, country life's sweet.
And this guy grew to be a friend of ours. So we look for every weekend they're coming down.
Yes.
We know that we're going to get a little ride off his tricycle.
Yeah, man.
And we grow big. I went away, came back. Traveling along Oxford Road one day, I hear somebody bawl out my name. I saw this not so tidy man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
is it the same man?
Huh?
It was the same man?
The same man called me and said, "You don't remember me?"
Yeah.
He said, "You don't remember Pinchon?" When I was a little boy. I said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Boy, rum. Rum
kill him.
Rum kill me.
Draw him down.
Draw him down to nothing."
Yes.
And he said, "Give him something, Ronnie." I hand it runs into my pocket.
Yeah.
I pull out, I didn't even think what I looked. No. I took out $1,000 bill.
Big money at that time.
Right, and give it to him.
Yeah.
Because look what he did for me.
Precisely, but unfortunately, he's going to spend a lot of that on the rum.
A lot of people are looking. I said, "Wait, how you getting my $1,000? Yeah. I said, "You know what that guy did for it?"
Yeah.
When we were children, that man carries
enlivened your life.
Book and lively us up, and we're laying up.
Yeah.
And everyone of both I get a ride the first time we ever ride this thing. Yeah. First time we see it.
You can't you couldn't turn back on him.
I could not.
No, but listen now. But then you see there so many your stories are rich, because not only do you show the simplicity and the pleasure of country life and the fact that you could be made happy by things quite simple and quite removed from some of the expensive and very negative tools and supposedly toys of the time. But also, you speak of this man being drawn down because of alcohol.
Yes? Right.
And it is one of the things that this country refuses to do, both of those things. One, we refuse to accept that not everything that comes from Americans is look good and fancy and expensive. We must have.
I think was we're talking the sweeties.
Well, I'm coming to the sweeties, but even some of the positive equipment.
Yes.
I live in the mountains and gave a girl in high school a drive this morning, and her entire period in the vehicle was looking at her phone.
Exactly.
She had no conversation to give. I asked her what book she was reading. She book. Yes, but so we don't need those.
And if you look what she was watching, there's something on TikTok dancing and this and probably.
Might well have been. Whereas you found your pleasure in riding getting a ride on a tricycle once every weekend and boasting out. Indeed.
And look towards it.
Yes, but secondly, no. It's a curse of alcohol and of nicotine. And that's where I want to challenge you, Mr. Charles, this morning, because our listeners in the diaspora need to know that at one school, it's Ocheria's primary school this week, we found out that sweeties are being sold. The Minister of Health says that they're illegally imported. Yes? How could they be illegally imported and he don't know?
No, Ronnie, hold on. Say that again and listen to yourself.
I will.
How can it be imported in Jamaica and you don't know?
But if anything, things can come into this country without the customs officers, without
say it another way.
Ministry of Health.
Are coming.
Yes, sir. So what we're going to
do
in
this country that we how the guns come in?
Well, sir, that is a big subject. If you want to get onto that, I will. The fact of the matter is that there's a whole heap of corruption. There are a whole heap of people who are supposedly against gun violence, who are purveyors of guns, purveyors of ammunition. I can tell you that.
And they are not being watched.
They're not being watched because...
like the churchman and others.
I don't care who they are, whatever condition they're in. The fact is that don't tell me about Jamaica has so much coastline that you can't police it.
But
that is true too. But go back to the sweetie. Yes. And
then it look purposeful, like somebody go directly to this school at a break time.
Yeah.
And sell almost 60 to children.
And probably in other places that we don't know about. But never mind.
I haven't heard any report from anywhere else.
But the fact that it came in, and we don't know where it came from, the minister doesn't know, we don't know, yes, is another issue. Because one of the things that I agree with you on, and you've been consistent on, is that I don't believe the criminal law is appropriate for proscribing, preventing the use of cannabis. That's my position. That's why I supported the law relaxing the penalties, which you didn't agree with when we both were in Parliament. But what I always am anxious for is that people are properly educated as to what any substance that they take in, and particularly a psychotropic substance, can do to them. Yes, and we have failed in that regard. So what we've done is to remove the 18 months penalty that used to exist for the possession of a little gram of ganja. Okay, that was how I cut my teeth in the legal profession, defending more and more people on that. On that. But what we have not done is to tell them that, particularly for children, for unformed minds, for people who have other mental instabilities, to use ganja is a real risk to themselves and to the rest of the society. Why haven't we done that?
Look at the simple one. Every time I see a taxi fly past me on the road on the opposite side,
yeah, you see this spliff.
A short thing in the mouth.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So
it's fashionable
it's
now.
not even a cigarette, you know.
No.
And if you talk to him,
yeah,
his eyes are red like blood.
Quite so. So no, and why haven't we?
He is mentally being destroyed.
Yeah. But he's driving. He's driving public passenger vehicle.
Not only that,
he's driving some 18-wheeler
inside the vehicle.
Thank you, sir.
And the other morning, a taxi having about 7 people.
Right.
Coming on my side, I'm going down on the left.
Sir.
He's coming and he comes, and I say, "Hold on, brethren." That's how it go. So me stop.
Good.
And not one of those, and all big persons, not one of them would have said to them, "Listen, you can't drive me like that."
Okay.
Get in the line.
Yes, sir. So
I straight on and said, "You see, all of you big people, you I blame, not him."
Well, blame him too. But the
point is that he could not drive me like that.
No, but Sir P, you see, but your discipline, your approach is what is needed. Why don't we have something called the Jamaica Information Service. We have a Minister of Information. We have a public education program. I don't think we do anymore, to help form people in appropriate habits and to warn them against inappropriate behavior. Why don't we talk about these things? The only people talking about them is you and me.
No, hold on a bit. There's another one that bothers me. Every time there is a problem, anywhere in the country, all the news media run to it. They have not run to some of the solutions. And they make their presentation that a house has flattened, being flattened by sliding rocks from where.
Wasn't that terrible? Yesterday,
and that person,
a poor little child died.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
No, that's something that we all have to cry over.
Yeah.
But how do we get others not to go there and build?
Well, one of the things we do is to have public officials in our municipal corporations who inspect areas where there's human settlement. And I'm going to say this very directly, and I'm inviting challenge. We have to have public building inspectors who don't take bribes. Now, Mr. Charles, let's be clear.
I think it was only politicians.
No,
this
sir.
Is after.
No, this is, in fact, when Julian Robinson joins us later, we're going to discuss this, because the issue, one of the issues that we discussed, the National Integrity Action Group and the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portfolio platform, and the European Union, and all of these, they discussed this morning about accountability of Parliament, which is very important, and which is why you and I have an input will have an input with that. But what we didn't discuss and what we don't discuss is the accountability of the public service.
Well, I tried to touch it the other day and you responded.
Yeah.
I said, you were a minister for how many terms?
4. No, it's 1 term.
1 term.
1 term.
I was a minister
for 4.
5 terms.
Yes, sir.
And I have never signed a check.
No, but that's only one aspect of it.
No, exactly. How did the check get to my desk?
Yeah. It was put by public officials.
Pablo the permit said, also people who control check.
Absolutely.
Yet, I am the one
who's accountable for everything.
I don't say anything.
No, sir.
I'm only distributing.
Yes, sir.
So the point I'm trying to make is that there are more than one of us who are responsible for certain things. Yeah, that's what's another. Yep. So we turn and say the only man that should be preventing the sweetie from come through.
Yeah, is the minister.
It's the customs man.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
True. It don't even come through the customs.
No, I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying is that it can't be beyond the collective effort of all of us in Jamaica, government, parents, everybody, to prevent our little children's minds being addled by ganja at a school gate. Yes, and if it happens once, yes, we understand that may have been not subject to anybody's scrutiny. But I want to know what's going to happen to prevent it happening in the future. Can I give you another example, which is even more ubiquitous? The cigarette company recently announced that it is going to
lace the cigarette.
They're going to lace the cigarette, and they're going to have these things called vape, where you buy one, it has the nicotine, but it's a once-off use, because people are against the smoking of the regular cigarette. But this vaping will give you the similar effect, and they, of course, will sell it and make a whole heap of money. It's one of the most profitable enterprises in Jamaica.
Did I hear that they ban it in America, the vape?
If not, they're about to. But what we have done is being insufficient. I see the government is advertising now, promoting the dangers of tobacco. Yes, but we have hesitated and fooled around a proper piece of legislation which has been drafted for the longest time, according to the Convention Against Tobacco Use, which we have signed for 15 years now, and we still allow tobacco products which do nothing but compromise health and kill people and cost the government billions of dollars and cost individuals incalculable suffering, and we are fooling around it on the basis that it's a free market and it's not legal. I admire the Seventh-day Adventist Church and many other evangelical churches who take a position against this. I am critical of the religious communion that I am a part of, because they are weak in terms of their others, are weak in condemning, let me use that word, in condemning the diminution of the human body, the destruction of the temple of the Holy Spirit, as the Bible says.
Somebody asked me
by allowing, promoting smoking and indiscriminate liquor.
Somebody asked me, Mr. Charles.
Yes, sir.
You've been in the trade union movement 41 years.
Yes, sir.
You have had
a record.
Thousands of meetings around the country with workers, celebrating victories of the polls.
Sure.
And,
yeah, sure.
Increases.
And
you go to the bar, and you're going around telling people that you have never put an ounce of white rum in your stomach.
Yeah.
Or whiskey.
And I believe.
I said, hold on. Don't blame me. Blame my mother. The Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah.
I have never lit a cigarette. And it's a smoke it, lit it in my mouth.
Yeah.
A ganja, never. In fact, if you smoke ganja, you can't come in my car because it make me sick.
Yeah.
Some people give them a drive, then hold the butt in their pocket.
Precisely.
I say, come out, you have a ganja butt.
Yeah. You're right.
Now, you touch a Seventh-day Adventist. It is because my mother was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Mr. Charles, where does that take you, sir? This needs that kind of rectitude, that kind of standards, apart from any religious justification that your mother would have given, which I want to share. Yes? Apart from that, simple public health requirements, simple issues of economy, simple issues of human upliftment would lead us as a country to promote that kind of thing. We are not promoting it. What we're doing is tolerating death. We're tolerating sickness. We're tolerating the poverty of mind and of economy, of pocket that comes from that. And we're talking about things moving in the right direction.
Well, you ask me what did I do. I pass it on to my 7 children. And
to your credit,
I can say none of them smoke.
Yeah.
And I am not going to say that they haven't done it behind me.
Yeah.
But I never smell it on them.
Yeah.
I never see them.
Yeah.
So I can say they have followed Mama example to me.
Thank you,
to
sir.
Them.
Thank you, sir.
And
what does that?
Parents now teaching the children.
Well, thank you so much because.
Hold on. When you as a father.
Yeah.
Send your boy to go light a cigarette, bring come. You don't think him take a drop behind the
more than that.
When you ask him to try a rum and bring come, you don't think him takes it.
Well, sir, fine. So what?
Boy, you know.
So what? Of course. So what we're doing now is saying that those are standards that we need to be promoting throughout the country, and therefore I ask the question: are we doing that? And we are not. And we are not. And when we don't do that, we become architects of our own misfortune. And we become those people who Jesus spoke of, who lead little children astray. And it would be better that a millstone were tied around their neck and they be cast in the sea. Well, stop that foolishness.
While they're on it, Ronnie,
yeah.
we cannot say it and don't look at what is happening to children.
Yeah.
Now, is it something in the country that if a little thing start, everybody get involved?
Well, yes.
Well, since you start to rape 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old girls,
those people are sick in a pathological way. And
but we are pathological people long time. We never used to hear it say. You're raping like a 4-year-old girl and throw a body over the...
No.
Kill her and throw her over the place.
I can't explain. I don't have the science to explain the whole thing. But what I do know is that those people are sick. And what we have to make sure is when we're done punishing them, what we have to make sure is that we're not incubating more and more men, women, whoever, predators of whichever gender or class, who are in fact causing this kind of destruction and inhumane behavior in the land. Are we doing that? Do we have a program of positive sex education in our schools? Or are we still telling them that this is one choice and that's the other, and it's for you to decide whether you're a boy or a girl, or you're a gay or a lesbian, or what?
Are we having any lectures to parents? You think that I would go to school and beat a boy with whatever bat or stick? That him is dying on the ground and I still licking him?
But hold on.
What happened at
So what is in the mind of that boy? Where him come from? What
is his home? Does he have a home?
Well, apparently he does. What psychological deficiency? I'm not trying to excuse. Please let our listeners know, and you know, I'm not trying to excuse anything, but I say if you don't go to root causes, yes, all you're doing is putting Band-Aid over the cancer.
No, but I have to back you on that, you know.
Yeah.
Because it didn't start at the school.
Yeah.
Or you didn't learn from beginning not to do it at school.
So hold on.
You think I could do that and go home to my father?
So when I hear I was listening to the radio recently, one radio station, and I hear a girl, sound like a young girl's voice, singing what I understand is a very popular song, which says, "Cartel, come breed me."
Who?
Cartel, come breed me. Now, when we take hello,
I said the bridge just red a red light.
When we can run any light. When we take freedom of expression, a wonderful value and virtue and principle of society, which you and I exercise so freely and so wonderfully, and take advantage of it in order to demean people.
Yeah.
Yes, because that is not a joke. Yes, and there are thousands of other iterations of similar things. When we do that, we have nobody to blame but ourselves for the squalid condition of many in our society.
Did I tell you that one of the taxi man told me?
Stop all that foolishness.
That his road going to Halfway Tree is full.
Yeah.
And the road coming from Halfway Tree, nobody not coming on it.
Yeah.
So if him take this road and go all the way up,
right,
It don't matter.
But what do we do?
But what do you mean?
Yeah,
what do the law say?
No, the law has no bearing on him, but this is the trouble, that instead of doing the real work of social transformation, we and others like us and people who sit in a garden house now believe that if they pass certain laws, the reality on the street is going to change. That's foolishness. Life doesn't work that way.
How are you going to get the laws that are passed in garden house? Apart from the one night TV and radio show presentation, how are you going to get it to Lantry Garden and Macedonia?
Because
to the man who don't even have really
what you do is the same way you got it, which is through your school, Teacher Williams, and through the churches, who have less and less impact now, and who are so delighted to go along with whatever the society says. Yes?
Well, Teacher Williamson always have meeting with parents.
Yeah.
Parent-teachers meeting.
Yeah. So we have those, but
and that means they used to teach you how to teach your children before they're sent to them at school.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That you stopped me in my tracks. That way I was
you didn't hear that? Unfortunately, when I was born in 1936, there was no basic school in my area.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So my mother's responsibility was to teach me to spell rat, cat, bat, pot, count to 100, and know ABC. Now, if you can do those three things, you're qualified to go to elementary and basic school.
Well, now look at that.
Right? Now, 4 or 5 years after that, when my brothers them came on, there was a lady who come and open basic school.
Yeah.
And what they knew at age 7, I still was fighting that at age 9, 10 in school.
So when are we
parents teaching?
When are we looking at some of our educational aspects? When are we saying that this is the way we're going to do? These are the standards we're going to stand for. My church is doing this with our schools now, but we're not doing it nationally. What we're doing is we're far more concerned about the mechanics and the academics and the vocational proclivities rather than the humanistic and the civic and the spiritual side of it. Jamaica is losing our way if we think that everybody is going to end up driving some posh car and living on some hillside. It isn't going to work that way. That is Babylon. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking with Julian Robinson about the job description for parliamentarians. Pernell Charles was a parliamentarian for 40-odd years, and he never had a job description. I was one for 20-odd years, and I never had a job description either.
But
Let's see what they're going to do now.
Might help them to form a job description, because I'm sure if I tell them what I had to do in my constituency, they don't even know.
Well, there you are.
I think most constituencies are different. In Kingston, Central Kingston, where you were, completely different from Northern St. Andrew.
So you see, Bridge Nation audience on the public eye, you're in for a treat when we come back from this break. Stay tuned. Thanks very much for staying with us on the public eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM. Remember, we're talking to Jamaicans in the diaspora. Some listen to us live, others on one spot on the Bridge 99 FM mobile app all over the world, television and radio. Talking to the diaspora, that's our mission. The Honorable Pernell Charles Sr. and myself. Welcome, Julian Robinson.
Thank you, Ronnie. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Pernell, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Mr. Robinson, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, sir.
I understand you're going to teach Ronnie and myself what we are to do to come back to Parliament in terms of the new things that you guys are bringing out. I'd like to hear them that I never did and Ronnie didn't do.
Well, I just come in from a session. Ronnie was there earlier, put on by NIA, and I was raising the issue of the challenges that managing the expectations that our constituents have of us versus what people perceive our role should be and how you balance that. And Jeanette Calder was highlighting the role of us as legislators. And I said, it is important to maybe a small percentage of the population. But unfortunately, the majority judge us based on our constituency work and our ability to address specific issues that they have. So we were just talking about that just now at this event.
Yes, but then that must relate to comments that are attributed to you at the Committee of Parliament yesterday regarding a job description for MPs. How you get into that, Julian? Is that likely? Can that come up with anything? Is there any general?
Well, and this was why I raised it as just as I said, a challenge. I think we all accept that there's a need for greater accountability, ways in which you can measure performances of MPs, etc. But I really highlighted the difficulty that you're going to find if you're going to try to objectively measure someone. And I use a couple examples. There are some things you can measure. So you can measure how many times you go to Parliament. Now, I could go to Parliament 100% of the times and never open my mouth.
Sure.
Does that give me a higher score than somebody who has gone 50% of the time? I could go to Parliament and I ask questions that are not answered, or table private member motions that are never answered. How do you judge that?
How would that help your constituency?
Huh?
How would that help your constituency?
Well, this again is the point I made both yesterday and here today in the meeting, that, as I sat in the meeting, you were there, Ronnie, I had a message from a 70-year-old constituent who was asking me for some money so he could buy some drugs because his drug serve card, he had used up the amount.
Yeah.
And I was engaging him to find out if he was a pensioner. He indicated he had worked for the government way back when. And so I passed his information to somebody at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to ask if she could check if he could get a government pension. Yeah. Now, I used that example in the meeting because I said he represents one of many requests that you get on a day-to-day basis. And frankly, him doing business about legislation or what I pass, although some of those things would impact him. His ultimate request today, so he can get the drugs to deal with his health, is how does he deal with those things when he has no pension? Yeah. Now, I can't really tell him that my job is just to be a legislator in Parliament. I will probably never ever serve another term in the Parliament. Yeah. And that's the reality that all of us face.
And pause a minute, Julian, just to complete. Sending him to the particular office without anything invidious about them, there is probably no way that they can meet his need for medical attention in the time that his health requires it.
And in this case, there are some good public servants, and there's someone I know who I've specifically asked to see how she could help. But I know if he went on his own, it would be difficult, for there to be an effective response to his needs. And the point I made is that we as MPs end up dealing with issues like that because the state agencies that have responsibility for these things are not able to, not willing, or can't respond in a timely fashion to those needs that are out there.
Julian,
yes, Bernard.
What to me is a big problem is that everybody who sits in Kingston or in some big office believe that you and I, when you going through some street in East Kingston and a lady coming, a little baby on her shoulder, the baby nose running, in fever high, she's not living at a place that she can run into a hospital to a doctor. She go to a doctor and the doctor says, I must go buy this quick. But she don't have no money. And the little boy following her, this barefoot, him no shoes. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to school. And the other one went to school but not no book. And they said to you, say, Mr. Charles, you are the MP, but hold on. The father said, boss man, didn't you promise you're going to fix my road? Didn't you promise you're going to get some water up here? So and last night, rain went up to the house. So why? You tell me how you are going to finance that, because I will do it if I get the money. So you give me $20 million for constituency fund. And the road that I promised him and I go and try and work on cost $40 million to fix.
So I want to know,
tell me now
why Colonel Charles and Julian Robinson are on our ways get into this thing which is can only cause you heartache and heartbreak.
No.
Well, you have to run it.
Just hold on, because I want you to answer this one. Because your friend, which is my daughter, is a dental surgeon. And I said to her, why did you leave your practice? She said, that is, you cause it.
Well, then I would still have to ask.
I don't know why. You can't eat, you can't drive, you have a driver. You don't. Why did you leave?
Well, she said she's following you. Julian comes from a highly pedigreed political family. I went in because of religion. No, but at the same time, why do we cold our game in this way, Julian? Go on. If you had a proper social security system where you could send your old gentleman to, or Purnell could send his lady with the baby on her breast, that would be one thing. But right now we are asked to be everything to everybody without the resources to do so, and trying to codify this is absolute futility unless you go deeper and look at the enablement of the ordinary people of Jamaica for their reasonable needs. And the committee that you are sitting on in Parliament has no intention of doing that.
Well, can they do it?
Let him
answer.
They
do it?
Well, I think you would have heard, both from me and I think the other MPs who spoke yesterday, of really the difficulty of trying to have what you call a job description and performance measures.
Yeah.
It is, I don't want to say impossible, but very, very difficult. Now, I said, even if you're going to rate MPs, how do you rate MPs when some MPs have access to far more resources than others?
Yeah.
Right? There are some MPs who fix roads every week and they get plenty props. Yeah. But the reality is they have access to resources that most MPs don't have.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, can you rate two of them on the same basis? No, you shouldn't.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're in the executive, you have a benefit of access to other human resources, and generally you may have more knowledge of projects, etc., that you can implement in your own constituency versus somebody who's on the back bench. So, I raised those issues yesterday just to highlight the difficulty of what we're trying to do in putting in place these job descriptions and these performance measures. And while I believe there are some steps that you can take to increase the accountability and the transparency, I don't know how effective we are going to be in tying down exactly what that description is, and then being in a position where you can assign a specific score to it.
The purpose,
and as Mrs. Warner said, who would be the body that would be doing that?
Yeah. Given
that is the people who ultimately evaluate us.
But the purpose of doing all of this is to improve functionality and accountability, is it not? To better meet the needs of the people. And I am of the view.
No, you're wrong.
Why?
They say you are getting some money.
No.
And they want to know how you spend it. They are not talking about the people in the constituency who have all the problem that I tell you about.
But then
who sleeping with the rats, the cats, no food,
So why is it that successive governments, including the ones that emanate from the party you support and the party that Julian and I support, do not go to the fundamental question, which is what do the people of this country need from whichever state agencies? Reasonable requests, not extravagant requests. Yes, reasonable requests which they can be dealt with when children are to go to school. Where if it is not the MP, if the parents can't manage it, and if the MP can or the council can't manage it, who can? Where do they turn? Why isn't the principal of the school given the PATH program so that he can make sure that all his children can come to school and have at least one book, have some means of getting there on time, and have something to eat if they haven't had it at home? Julian, we don't have... I'm urging you, all of us, you the parliamentarian sitting, and we who have still some... trying to have some voice. We need a proper social security system in this country.
Well, I'm happy that, the government has agreed to look at the PATH program, do a review of it, and to see how we can improve it. Because as beneficial as it has been to many Jamaicans, it's a very difficult program to get at. And I can tell you as an MP, I've recommended a lot of people, and for various reasons, they haven't gotten a Now, if you had stronger social security services in place, then people wouldn't come to the MP for every little thing, and you could reasonably refer them to an agency where they stood a chance of being successful. And all of us know we have many constituents who are genuinely in need, but simply can't get the assistance.
Sure.
And it's something that we are going to have to work on, because the current model is unsustainable. It's unsustainable because the expectations that people have of us can never be fulfilled. And when they're not fulfilled, they turn around and cuss us and say we don't deliver on the things we say we're going to deliver.
Respectfully, sir, this is not by accident. This is how the system is set up. It was, first of all, the Westminster system as it is set up here, of which our functioning is a part, was never intended to have to deal with the massive incidence of poverty, deprivation, and inequality. One second, sir. And secondly, the interests of the ruling class in this country are not interested, as far as they are concerned, call us honorable and give us one car and some other things. Yes? And that they expect we must take care of that problem, not them. They will give us a campaign contribution to ease the burden. But this society is not set up for meeting the reasonable needs of the majority of our people. Tell me I'm wrong.
Julian, let me just add a point to what Randy has just said. And I'm speaking from where I was for 50 odd years. You cannot finance the call in 5 of the streets in your constituency with your salary plus the location that they give you.
Why are you there? Julian, where do we go from here? What do you think is the outcome of this committee?
Well, I think we have to come to some consensus. I think there is a view by some in civil society about what they think the role should be, which is very different from what I would say 95% of our constituents expect of us. And I don't convergence in those two views. I don't at all. And I think, as I said, it's going to be difficult for us to come to some job to be acceptable and some performance for it. I do think there are some steps we can take to increase transparency and accountability. I do an annual report and invest money
to
and other funds.
Yes.
People can do that, right? But, to get to a point where you can measure objectively the performance of an MP, I think is going to be near to impossible to get to that stage.
I'm dying to read a summary of what you guys would come up with as what an MP should do that Ronnie and I'm speaking to Ronnie because he was in Central Kingston. And Central Kingston is not much different from your constituency.
Correct.
Right? Or from my rural constituency where picnic can go to school.
So what are you saying? What you're waiting to see is not going to come, It's not going to come.
But Ronnie, you know why it's not going to come? Because much of what Mr. Robinson and others are doing now by trying to say what they should be doing was being done by those who were there before us.
There's another.
And now those who sit in them high chair in Kingston is telling us they want to know how we spend them taxes, and we must set out how every dollar. Hold on, just give me 10 seconds. I picked up one of the top journalists in Jamaica. I said, listen, follow me in my constituency for one day. Do me a favor. Choose a spot where you want to go so that you don't choose it till you reach Maypen. You tell me which road to take. And 2 hours in the constituency when the years are coming and the people them start to come down. Food, road, clothes, water.
But where I part with you is what you're going to do about it. You seem to be accepting these things as being inevitable.
The big guys who sit here wants to know what is my job. What is my job?
Well, sir, I'm not.
And I'm asking Mr. Robinson, what are you going to tell me I should do when I have to face all of these things?
But he has the same thing.
I have the same problem.
That's the whole thing.
To deal with.
There's one of them.
And that's why I said I think it is going to be difficult, if not impossible, to finalize what that job description is. Now, Christoph Dunn said, we must say in that job description what we should not do and what we are not. And I agree with him. So you begin to manage expectations of what people have of you. Now, it may not change because the culture is ingrained over many, many years. Right? But you have to start managing the expectations away from being this benefactor of all sorts, because it is an unsustainable thing. It is why some people get in trouble, right? It is why if you don't have resources independent of the system, you can't survive, because even with the increases that we have recently got, it can't meet the needs of constituents at all. It's not meant to do it. It's not meant to do it in the first place.
No, what you have done is you have invited more people to come, and you say you get some money, boss, so you can't help me with a sheet of zinc now, or 2 blanks to finish the house.
That's exactly what is happening now.
Well, but then now look, one of the things that I think can be changed, Julian, is that the procedures for accessing such assistance as an MP can recommend or can give needs to be streamlined. I used to find it impossible, for example, to work the constituency development fund in a way that provided the kind of quick relief that was necessary. If I had
it's still problematic. If right now everybody has to fill out an assessment form for any form of assistance, so if that lady with the prescription needs help, you get the prescription. Let's say you give it to your CDF officer, who then goes, gets the check from SDC as the implementing agency. Then he have to go to the pharmacy with the check, which take about a week or 10 days. It's 2 to 3 weeks before the lady get back her prescription in.
Precisely. I used to have
which is impossible.
Yeah.
Not only that, the term would finish.
Yeah.
If I follow what you say,
yeah,
the term would finish before Miss Rosa, up in Blackwood, could get a little help to carry our children with a big cold on our chest on a pen.
Well, this is the whole point. So what you do? What?
So I have to take the little money and give me in my pocket for pay because I don't have no constituency to pay for that.
When National Integrity Action and Jamaica Accountability Portal has that seminar that I attended this morning with you, Julian, and with Purnell, if he wasn't lame, would have been there too. What I needed to tell him is that the existing system makes people like us a eunuch.
No, but Ronnie, it is easy to talk.
It's not. No, it's,
but these guys are only talkers. They have not gone out there to know what is happening.
I'm not worried about them. Their input is fine. What I want to know is how the system of government, which at this point is peopled by elected members of the JLP and the PNP, whose goodwill I'd like to presume. Yes, it need not necessarily be so. We are so sure that we want it, that everybody else except me is a thief, that we back up ourselves. That can't happen. One MP told me recently that the $4 million that was given, that sounded so good to fix some roads, that it can't be disbursed yet. Has that been your experience?
You mean the MP? 40 million?
40 million, sorry.
Yeah, because the procurement, what has happened with NWA is 63 MPs, is 63 different procurement processes. Based on the amount, you have to name 5 contractors who then have to submit a bid. Mm-hmm. So up to now, I have not accessed mine, and most of my colleagues have not accessed theirs. And I've had to explain to my constituents who come to me and cuss me about the roads, because I'm here, so we'll get the whole for money, that frankly, we haven't been able to use the money. I mean, what is even a bigger problem, more than just at the constituency level? The supplementary budget laid by the minister last week in Parliament, $8.75 billion from the capital budget have not been spent, mainly because of procurement issues. 8.57 billion, almost 9 billion, has not been spent mainly because of procurement challenge.
And if you try to beat the procurement,
so change it.
You go out of prison.
No, but so change it. You have the power to change it.
It don't make sense.
Well, of course you have to change. If not, you look here. If not, what you're doing is conceding to impossibility.
No, what you are doing is because you know what I did one time. I had an emergency.
You have to be quick.
And I had an emergency, and I was told that it cannot be done because I took a procurement. I said, hold on, who is that procurement? I said, Randy Tweet. I said, who is that the other one? I said, Robinson. I said, call Randy Tweet and Robinson to come to my desk tomorrow morning. I said, gentlemen, you represent these 3 organizations.
Who can do that?
I want you to tell me,
who can do
can
that
I proceed to fix this road?
You don't understand. There's a whole.
The man them said it can't work.
Yeah. So what this last part of the discussion is showing is that even if MPs are proactive, even if you have the most replete and tidy job description, yes, you are likely to be frustrated because those who have to implement what needs to be done can tie you in knots.
Why are you being so nice? Say they take the right way. You are not going to be re-elected because you are just going to the promise people and say you're fooling them because that money not coming from Kingston.
Julian, your thoughts, finally.
Well, I think, as I said, I think the exercise that we're going through is a good one because I think the public and aspects of the public need to understand the nature of the work and the challenges that are there. And what I would say is the difficulty in coming to a specific job description and measurement. And I do believe we have to focus on how we can improve access to public services so that this dependency on the politician is not as high as it is right now. You know, there's no other, I mean, there may be other countries in the world similar, but frankly, we are one of the worst examples. Even in the Caribbean, it doesn't exist as badly as we have it, with the culture of dependency. And we have to move away from it because it is just an unsustainable model to continue. Totally unsustainable.
Well, is there any political...
Water, roads, paths, and this pretty name. If you have somebody to even carry them and get them to your constituency, you couldn't lose, you know. But if you go, they go promise the people, and it can't work. Them stone you when you go back. So you make them give you an agenda. And you, Mr. Randy Tweet, you go back down to Central Kingston.
But you're telling me what I'm
and have all those guys that I see down there.
What I'm frustrated with, sir, is that you're telling me all of the problems which I kind of know and which you can add to. But I want to know the solution. And what I'm saying is that the parliament, the political forces in this country are not in a position where they are disposed to, have the ideas to, or certainly have the political will to serve the needs of the ordinary people. And I don't know how we continue this way. We're going to go into an election season now, Julian. Yes?
And that'll be worse.
And the councillors, we're going to, local government is worse. My experience is that unless you have appoints or you're prepared to drop or something in a local government situation, it is the most frustrating body of people to deal with.
It is very difficult.
So what? No. So what you do is go around them. So what you do is you save up your money and buy some blocks and you build a house where you can get a piece of land because there's no other place.
The MP?
No ordinary people, and therefore when unfortunately when you don't do it right, and because there's no way that you can get help to do it right, it collapses and kill your baby. No, listen, you laugh. That is exactly what we have done to ourselves, and we're not so fool. We could do better.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes,
we are standing by to watch you. We'd like to invite you to come back when you have a program set out.
What a responsibility you're giving him.
We're going to distribute the responsibility.
Where is the minister? Where is the prime minister? What else you must talk about in parliament but how to serve people? And what we have heard from Julian today and what our experience in the past confirms is that the present system we have is not designed to meet the needs of the people. But yet we will all continue to do so.
The present system has never worked. And it's not going to work now. And the whole it's not going to work.
We'll hear that from one of the senior leaders of the Jamaica Labour Party. Julian Robinson, thanks so much for your company.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Fernand. Take care.
All right, perfect.
The Bridge 99 and the Public Eye will return. Thanks very much for joining us on the Public Eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM, Pernell Charles and myself, talking about the affairs of the nation, talking about the Impulses from all over the world that affect our life on this beautiful island, where the spirit of the people is still strong, even if we seem to confound ourselves from time to time. That was a good discussion with Julian Robinson, Member of Parliament for South East St Andrew, opposition spokesman on finance, man dedicated to the political struggle in Jamaica, and pointing out some of the real contradictions when you try to define the role of a Member of Parliament. He, our listeners should be reminded, is a member of a committee of Parliament which is at the behest of the Prime Minister, trying to establish terms of reference, a job description for Prime Ministers. Neither Pernell or I think, for different reasons, that that's going to be possible. And the fact is that the demands become more and more intense the closer you get to election season. And our listeners should be reminded that 1.7 billion US dollars, 1.7 billion Jamaican dollars has been provided for the upcoming local government elections, and general elections, of course, may not be too far beyond that. However, we're looking at this in this segment of the public eye at broader things to do more with the spirit, the behavior, the outlook of the Jamaican people. And we welcome Dr. Leakim Samaj, noted author and psychologist. Hi, Leakim. Welcome.
Hi, Ronnie.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Dr. Samaj, how are you?
My brother Pernell.
I am going up to our school sometime this next month.
You two, you have a school?
What do you mean? You don't know that is a city university graduate.
Oh, I see. Of course. I beg your pardon. That school, you got the high school, the high school.
No, man, I couldn't go to the high school, man.
No, understand.
His school was high school, mine was low school.
We're clear. We won't go into that. Leakim Samaj, need your wisdom.
Yes, sir.
What we're finding is that, although we're not wanting to talk about it, that children are going back to school and they are mentally wobbly because of the experience of COVID, the fact that we really haven't caught up with what they missed, and many of the socialized or the habits for socializing that they had before have atrophied during the time away. We had other instances confronting us recently about social patterns. I was struck by the fact that the convicted members of the One Order gang in large numbers complained or tried to seek mitigation because they had never had a father figure in their life. Is the social order, Dr. Samaj, the foundational structures of our society capable of taking us to the wholesome social order that the Vision 2030 calls us for?
Not without a lot of assistance. That 2030 is just words on paper.
Oh my God, listen to that.
I have seen nothing which are addressing the process by which we make these things. You know, there's a concept in anthropology called, the cargo cults.
Yes.
Whereby persons go through, they try to enact the rituals that they see modern societies do. Like they go to the airport and just stand up. Mm-hmm. Because there's people go to the airport and goods come. They don't understand that you need to do something else. You know, they stir on a table and pass papers around the table. And they see people do that and get money. But we're not far removed from that. You know, let me just, look, there's a basic structure. Two structures I'd like to share. One, anger is a legitimate emotion. It triggers for all kinds of reasons. But violence is a destructive behavior. The two don't have to be connected. And socialization is what helps us to understand what to do. How do you channel your anger? How do you fuel it? Because actions fueled by anger can be very satisfying, but oftentimes regretted. You know, so we're having these problems. Ronnie, home is the first school. Parents are the first teachers. Mm-hmm. Everything after this is called extra lesson.
Wow. But then, in a situation where, for very traceable reasons, Dr. Leakim Semaj, the Honorable Colonel Charles, we have a weak home system. We used to have a stronger one with the extended family. We don't have that in a large proportion of our population.
Many instances, yes. Well, let me depress you further. In modern society, now, Jamaica, we're trying to build a modern society, aren't we?
Yes.
We say we are.
Yes.
Now, there's a concept called, when we talk about violence again, how it works. Do you understand that in modern society, what political theory and sociology and all of that tells us? The state has a monopoly on violence.
Yes.
I mean, right. But guess what? I don't think that has been taught to our people. So before we got to the level of state, we had tribes and clans and various levels at which, even just take out children's rights. My daughter, who is on the Supreme Court, and I did help her with her paper, her final paper in law school.
Yes.
Where
Wonderful.
I understand the concept of the child's best interest. How in Western jurisprudence, children were initially father's property.
Uh-huh.
And then the evolution now to mothers almost. And then now we're at the point where what's in the child's best interest. Now, a lot of people still don't understand that transition, the child's best interest. Now, violence, if the state has a monopoly on violence, or ought to. That's why legitimate use of violence, what can be done, and the state can give individuals some limited parts of that power, correct?
Yes.
They tell you what you can do in self-defense and what you can't do, right?
Yes.
But I don't think we have been really explaining and teaching Jamaicans this, that violence is the state who has the power. If I have a disagreement with, if right there between, you're sitting next to Pernell, and there's a disagreement between, you can't just box him down, you can't just lick him. Because the state didn't give you that power.
Yes.
There are mechanisms. You report it, you do, and we say we have these things, but we don't teach people. So at school, there is a disagreement between students. All right, what is the next step? You go to the teacher, you go to the principal, whatever. But I can't think of any level in Jamaica where we're actively teaching these things. Look how many... Every time you hear about a shooting or a killing in a community, then you hear about prepare for the reprisal attacks, the reprisal killings. So you understand that we are operating almost a level of clans and warring factions. That's why you talk about warlords and dons, because power exists in the various levels way below the state. And children live what they learn.
Dr. Samaj.
Mr. Mayor, I must be the only person who say that a lot of this also stems from corporal punishment. When you hit a child, you teach a child 4 things. Somebody disappoint you, you can hit them. Somebody disobey you, you can hit them. You're bigger than somebody, you can hit them. And children learn this. Many perpetuate it. Others like me decide I will never ever hit my child because I remember what it felt like when my mother brutalized me. So we have a lot of things to work through beyond just talking.
Do you see the sense that those who have influence over behavior, over the rules and the canons, the norms, do you see us confronting these things properly, positively? Because for example, we've banned corporal punishment in the schools, but we have not given the teachers the training or the tools for alternate behavior modification.
Don't go as far as the school. We ban corporal punishment so that your boy in your own yard, your boy, can tell us if you touch them, they're going to talk to the police. So before you reach the school, it is also in a
but I want to know what your thought is.
Well,
because the majority of people many people will say, all right, so you shouldn't have banned it. But then the point is we do things halfway rather than giving them a positive approach to do something different. Am I right?
Absolutely, because if you're going to do that, there's other things that before you became Minister of Education, Ronnie, I think somebody who preceded you, I went and I offered a package because I estimate about 15 boys back then in each school were in the departure lounge. I was told that there's no budget for anything like that.
Wow.
I said, but if we don't find the budget for it, the school is the last chance.
Well,
we will have shifted to the Ministry of National Security and Justice plus GCT.
Yeah.
We have done that.
Can we just pause there? When we sentence a man, as we did in the courts recently, let's just use a rough figure for 40 years, Mr. Charles, Dr. Semaj, do you realize that the public has made an investment of close to $100 million? Yes? That's the cost of keeping him there. In the worst condition, yes, probably not to be reformed, whether that is possible or not. Yes, but that is what we are doing. When I'm not saying it, I'm not excusing what he did, nor am I saying it is a linear correlation. But if we had a different approach to socialization, it would seem to me that you would avoid many of those instances. Am I right?
Absolutely. About 2 years ago, I had the privilege of speaking to some boys at Hilltop. Hilltop Juvenile Center. And there's a line I always wanted to use, and I had a chance to use it. And it goes like this: now that we have your attention. Now that we have your attention. You're not going here for a while. Let's talk. Because long ago, we needed to start setting up some alternate institutions for children who are beyond the capability of parents and of schools. Children in need of care and protection. That's not necessarily a prison. It's a situation where the kind of direct socialization has to be carried out. And when we talk about this, we need to get them some soldiers to manage them and so on. It's more subtle than that. Ronnie, I have intervened where a parent has come to me with a situation where this boy is totally out of control in the community. And there's a particular, let's call John Bosco is an incredible place. You know that.
I do.
I went down to Sister Susan and said, Sister Susan, could you take this child for 3 months? We're talking off the record. And Sister Susan facilitated it. Because what I realized, that child needs to be taken out of Kingston, out of the community, to go somewhere where he'd learn a trade, where he'd interact with control. I remember when I did an evaluation of all the children's home in Jamaica, Alpha came out as number one. And when I spoke to Sister there, how do you do it, Sister? She said, when the boys come here first, after a while, if they start to really not settle in and misbehave, there's a room I let them sit in for the day. And I asked them to reflect on 3 things. What was your life like before you came here? What will your life be like if I ask you to leave here now? What's the possibility that could happen if you spend some time with us? She says that 99% of the time, just that day of reflection.
How do we...
Dr. Samad, let me tell you something that's bothering me. And you use both words, anger and violence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, when a child is angry, matter was saying stomach full of not food.
Bile.
Him begs.
Yes.
So if another child touch against him, like down at BB Court,
or Steer Town yesterday,
him knock him down. It is something that is not coming from there, because when he was leaving, he might have never pray with him and send him to school.
Yeah.
He might have run him out, him not get no food or something. So you touch it 2 words. How do we get rid of the anger that is creating the violence that is in the society?
My brother Colonel, let me start by saying anger is a legitimate feeling. It's an emotion. What people need to learn is what to do, how to manage it. You know how early we start? From children are the terrible twos, where the 2-year-old goes into a temper tantrum. That's the earliest version. I have seen some parents do some classic things. You have seen them on video sometime. The child is in the middle of the store, and the child and the mother just walks away. when you come to your senses, I'll be outside. The child sits there for a while and carries on and realizes it's not being rewarded, it's not being reinforced. So even we start learning how to channel anger. A lot of young people never learned how to. You will always feel angry. My classic anger story. I was angry when I was in fifth form and I got 25 out of 100 1 month before a physics exam. And the teacher told me, don't bother take the exam, just study or something because clearly I can't pass it. I was so angry, I went home and read the physics book from cover to cover and got a distinction.
Wow.
And you're backed into the violence group. And to come out of that, you have to be the more violent one.
Well,
it's not that you're back into a group where you're taught, or you're re-educated into a wealth of something.
Socialization is making human.
Yes.
I mean, that's the principal job of a parent. School, we have that. Look, one of the problems in Jamaica, when we went to the two-shift system, we thought we were providing more pedagogic input, but we also lost a lot of the socializing agents and activities. Because where was the time we're going to have Cubs and Girl Guide and all those other things that are providing the socialization? We have lost a lot of those things.
Yes. So
the whole process by which we socialize to make the child human, to make the child learn how to live, and even when we talk about this thing called violence, that if we say we're having a state, the state has a monopoly on violence. I can't remember any context in Jamaica where anybody taught me that, realizing that you're not supposed to. But think of it, football, you're playing football. If somebody tackles you, bad tackle, what are you supposed to do? You appeal to the ref. And what happens? If you take on yourself to put something on the person, chances are you get put off the field. Correct?
Of course.
But you were taught that. Somebody taught you that.
So why are we teaching our children things that are not serviceable?
Why
going to change
why aren't we having teachers for the children that they're having?
Yeah, well,
because they themselves need to be taught.
Well, who has control over that?
But you see, but guess what?
Who has control over that?
I'm convinced their parents, and I can say we're in a contradiction.
I want to
tell their children that if anybody lick you, lick them back.
Yeah. Sure.
Anybody do anything, do them back.
Yes.
Their parents who are teaching their children that.
Sure. So what is the society doing? And those who operate the society, those who have influence, those who control resources, those who are in a Minister of Children's Affairs, those who are in a Minister of Education, and I take full responsibility for my tenure there. What are we doing in order to create an antidote to this? Or are we simply analyzing it, wringing our hands, and doing what?
Nothing. Well, I won't say we're not doing anything, because first thing, several generations you have to go back. No. Some of those who are having children now they don't even know what.
No, but brethren, that don't help me, because the children are there, except you're going to kill them like some people want to. Yes, before or after birth. That is the children are there. So what understanding the background is only so that we can be more accurate in predicting and planning a solution.
It is so easy to talk.
No, don't.
And so hard. No, it is so.
There is
nothing. Somebody is a psychologist, right?
There is nothing to prevent the government or whatever agency commissioning somebody like yourself to revise a curriculum for early childhood education, which would lead to emotional health. Am I right?
And give it to
absolutely. But nobody say no. Look. Again, I heard a program on Love FM this morning, and when they're talking about the question they were discussing, should there be a Ministry of Family Affairs?
What?
A Ministry of Family Affairs.
Yes, sir.
Something where and I said, what an interesting construct, because we've totally forgotten what that is supposed to be, family affairs. We're talking about socialization.
Yes.
Because, again, with all what's happening, gentlemen, I don't blame the children, because they did not raise themselves.
Kim, hold your thought. We need a break. We're coming right back. Are we going to be able to redirect the Jamaican family pattern in according to what form, which tradition? And then we have to turn to a book that Dr. Semaj has written. Coming back soon on The Public Eye. This is The Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. The Honorable Colonel Charles and I are talking with Dr. Lakim Semaj, noted psychologist, public servant, and now author of books of importance. Lakim, before we get to the book, what dream for us? What should we do to get over the fact that so many of our children come from circumstances where they don't have the consistent influence of conscious parents, and where they go to schools where poor behavior on service of latitudes towards education abound?
First, we have to hold parents accountable. If we can't, if they don't respond, you just identified a figure a while ago. The cost that for keeping people in lockup.
Yeah. Nearing 2 million now.
Yeah, a portion of that funds, we need to provide some earlier intervention. There are a number of boys and girls who are in need of care and protection and resocialization, which goes beyond the capacity of the average teacher and the average school.
Sure.
So we really have to create some such institutions and to pull people out, whether periodically, because my initial model had a thing for when you're going to interview that child, the parents must come to the intervention too. If the parents don't turn up, you escalate to the next level.
You know the problem.
Exactly. Then you have to move that child to an environment where the child will get more direct supervision in moving them in the socially desirable direction. But you see, where the politics come in now, boy, those are votes, and you don't want to do anything unpopular because you want a popularity contest and so on. Here we go.
Yeah, but
is that saying?
Yeah, but then, so you lose the votes by doing something positive, and the other person who takes it up can't do a damn thing with it and finds themselves in the same situation.
They say it's foolish she was doing.
Well,
because you're trying to stop them from doing what they want to do. There's a society, which feels that what they're doing is the best thing. You give them rope.
Yeah, but how do you build a coherent society is what I'm trying to get out of this discussion.
I don't know. I look like I'm
building a hut.
Yeah.
Look, the same way we can agree, all right, you provide path funds. But it requires more than that. A lot more than that, because where is the socialization input being triggered? We're seeing it from very early with some children who are beyond the capacity of the parents and beyond the capacity of the school. Those children disrupt the school process so much, it impacts the learning of all the others. We have to find a place for those children where we can treat them in the same way. There's a model that treats violence and crime as a disease, Somebody who has a disease, and by the way, emotions are more easily transmitted than any known virus. So a child who is chucking badness and antisocial behavior, he can disrupt the entire school system. So the same way, you'd have a place where you can move that person so they're in isolation, they're separated from impacting and infecting the others while you treat them. There's a model.
Yes.
There's a model, and we have to be bold enough to do it, because what we will do is kick the can further down the road.
Yes.
But Dr. Semaj, where should we... Well, listen, it's so nice, It sounds so good if we could get it going even to schools.
Why can't we, sir?
Well, can we get it done in one parish?
Well, my view is that...
Can we get it done in two families?
My view is that we should. The churches are quite able to do it. They have many schools. There are others that are run by trusts. There are others.
The churches meet once a week. Either Saturday or Sunday.
No. Some are that, but they have much more, many more
cultural
tentacles than that. They own or control almost 50% of all the public schools in Jamaica. So my point, Lekim, is we want to clarify the idea, and I think if it's put before people, given the real deconstruction of the society, many people will adhere to it and want to build back, don't you think?
Absolutely. One thing, I started an intervention. I said the problem with stealing and such, because of the commandments are in the wrong position.
Yeah.
We need to get thou shalt not covet earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's covetous make a thief.
Yeah.
Right? So every school in Jamaica come September, during the orientation, what you're told, when it's changed for PE, don't leave the clothes unattended, walk with your clothes. I said, no, we're not. We have to stop doing that. The orientation is, people must be able to put down their clothes and their book. If you take up something that's not yours, you're stealing.
Yes.
Every school has adjusted to that on the assumption that it's thieves coming in to the school,
yes,
and they're going to steal your stuff. If we took a stand with something as basic as that, can you imagine taking a stand on that?
Yeah,
Anyone who takes anybody.
Sure.
No, but we just think that there are children who go home with a book. Mama, find a book. Mama said, what a way you're lucky. See if you can find a bag tomorrow. So that the places we can start, and we can start with one school, with one group of schools. Yeah. Can you imagine if a teacher, if a principal, if a school board had the will and the capacity to start making these kind of decisions early? When you see a child who is beyond the capability. Look, if a child had a bad virus, we'd want to get the child insulated and isolated so we can cure, we can help the child.
Yes, that's
what we need to start looking at it from that perspective. So that child will now move on from grade 1 to 2 to 3 and then get to 7. I heard a politician point out that in his constituency, something like 70% of the children in grade 7 can't read.
Yeah.
Like him, hold a word right there, because I want you to do something for me. I need you to help me. It was better 70 and 60 years ago. It was better. More children were more disciplined, as they would say, have more manners. Parents were more concerned. They were going to parent-teachers meeting. Headmasters was in charge of the school.
Why?
And we used to have all of these things. And if a boy bad, somebody was there, the policeman was arraigned.
So what has changed?
The teacher, what? No, I want you to tell me, where have we gone astray? Who has gone astray? Is it the children, the teachers, the parents, the police, or the politician? Who has gone astray? Because things have completely turned around.
There's so much to unpack, because you remember back in those days, the level of power that existed in communities. Nurse and teacher, their salary was subsidized by the community. Every time you go to nurse or a teacher, you walk with something. Remember those days?
Yes.
And postmistress.
Yes.
Huh? But now, with all due respect, politicians, have tried to separate a lot of that power from the community now to centralize it under the MP will take care of that, and the MP will take care of this, and the MP will take care of that. So that politics has superseded many of the local activities that took place at the community level. And most of we used to take a village to raise a child. We don't have villages anymore. So and then we have a lot more distraction now. Mass media. We never had that then.
No.
Thousands of cable channels. So that the socializing agent of one parent, is being bombarded and counteracted by thousands of other inputs. So it makes it that much harder now.
So therefore the effort has to be far more intense.
Much more intense.
Yes.
Much more intense.
I do not know of another forum on which these issues are being put as sharply as I was here, and that is both, that is a reproach. This should be the business that the Parliament is talking about.
Absolutely. Not just, I mean, it's all good and well to be praising the boys who intervene and so on, but the root issue.
How it happened?
The root issue. And many versions of that happen every day in our school system.
Which frankly, again, the criminal law pressing aggravated assault charges against this fellow who did this horrible action to his school colleague. That is not going to solve the problem, Doc.
Not at all. Not at all. So that you're right. That is what should be discussed. How do we intervene before it gets to the next level?
Yes.
Those are just symptoms of what is happening in this society.
Well,
there are so many of us who know the problem, but we talk about it.
I'm talking about solutions right now, sir. That situation in BB Corking Junction ought to be dealt with in a very different way, not the way that it's being dealt with at all.
How do
are the parents involved?
I believe they are, but
is Dr. Samaj involved?
First, I don't know. No, he wouldn't be involved.
No, I mean, somebody need to tell me why a guy would beat up another one that way.
But the first thing you have to do is look at it, is talk to him, talk to his family, understand the situation.
Maybe never eat.
Understand the culture, all that.
Maybe coming from a no home.
You have to understand the culture of the school, which I happen to know has taken very important positive steps in recent years. But simply saying we're going nice gesture of the Prime Minister to reward these boys, while others were taking pictures, and some argument is that some big man who has a connection with the school drove past, saw what was happening, and pressed the gas. Yes, if that is so, he should be fired from that job right away. Yes. Secondly, the chap who is charged has to be looked at with very, very careful attention. And if there's malice and if there's whatever it is, that will have to be punished. But there's obviously much deeper issues at work in him, and I believe his kind at that school. So it's not just a question of relating a problem. Is this something that we know what to do about, Dr. Samaj?
We know what to do, but do we have the will, the effort, and the time to do it?
Yes.
And the extent we don't, we just kick the can further down the road, and we'll raise the cost.
Well, there you are.
Dr. Samaj, you're going to tell us what is in the book that is guiding us.
I want to hear this now.
What Ronnie is asking you. Come on, give us some of that.
Spend a few minutes with that.
The title of the book is The Best Is Yet to Come, A Psychologist's Guide for Thriving in Retirement.
Say again, no, the best is yet to come. Okay.
A psychologist's guide. Now, why I say that, I have been for the last 20, 30 years, whenever I'm in a company and somebody's going in retirement and we have a session for them, a discussion, people say, why didn't anybody tell me these things 10 years ago, 20 years ago? So we have put together the knowledge base that you need to thrive in what I call the anchor leg of life. The anchor leg is the strong. The anchor leg is that final leg. You run into the tape. And that is what I see as that process. The best, and then how to make it the best period of your life.
But then it's a time when very often mobility is decreased, sickness overtakes you, inflation ravages whatever savings you've made, disappointments about unachieved aspirations clog your brain, doubts about what happens after death, perhaps remorse of family.
But guess what? That is because you did not start thinking about it early enough and plan and prepare for it.
Okay, so the book is not only for those at the anchor leg, but those who are preparing for it?
Those who are probably it should be early as leg 2 or leg 3. The earlier you start putting the information. For example, do you know, Ronnie, that the best drug for longevity is something called exercise?
Agree quickly, Purnell. Hear what he says? The
number one drug.
The best drug
facilitate longevity is exercise.
Is exercise. This is a man who plays tennis every day, sir.
But more than that, you start to lose muscle mass at age 30. And the number one cause of accidental death for people 65 and over is attributed to falls.
Yes.
Why they fall? Because the muscle mass has deteriorated completely.
Yes.
so that if we could start getting people to stay fitter, they would stay healthier and they would live longer. I mean, it is so much more to talk about, Ronnie. But the idea is that first of all, I don't do old age. I don't join that group at all.
Well, I'm interested in why you wrote this book. I know your age must be advancing. I have no idea what it is. But Pernell is 86?
88.
88, and I'm
in my 88 here.
And
I've just finished 87.
And I'm nearly 79.
And you're a perfect example of what the ankle leg can be. There's nothing decrepit or mashed up about you. You see, and so we need to start people to understand how do you get the best out of life all the way through, all the way through
Dr. Samaj, let me just tell you, it is right before our eyes. And most of who are not getting the best out of life know why they are not. When you sit down and take a bottle of white rum and show off and drink half of it, when you pick up a ganja thing and smoke till you're battering and you're laughing, when you know what is killing yourself. Now, take somebody who look at the opposite. Look at Samaj, what is showing me, and what I'm looking at you now, I'm surprised you look like you're 10 years younger. I don't know if it's a new picture.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Good. The point is this, that some of us would love to do it, but we are not educated. We are not being assisted.
But that's why he wrote the book.
So I want to, please give me a copy of the book. I'm going to read it. Because trust me, there are too many around me that I would love to help.
Yes.
I'll give you the last joke, Ronnie.
No, let him answer first.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the last joke.
What I've just realized is that most Jamaicans don't read.
Well, you're asking me, or you're telling me?
Over those who read, and even more don't buy books.
So how can you publicize these ideas? Because it's really important that people in the local context, hearing from someone who the public thinks of as being practical and wise, gets to as wise as many of them as possible.
Well, first of all, there's an audio version which is available on my website, so you can just download and listen to it. And I got an interesting call from somebody today who does gift packages, and she said she'd like to include this book in the gift packages she puts together for Christmas.
Why not?
I said, what a great idea!
Yes.
To give somebody a book like this so they can understand, So we're trying to find ways and means of making sure we make the information available to as many people as possible.
Would you like me to give you a way to sell the books that I have done? Yeah. I have looked at several big people in the society. Some, like a man who have a big company with 50 and 60 people. Yes. I say, listen, I am packaging 25 books for you. I'd like you to give each of your supervisors one.
Yes.
I want you to call the Minister of Education and say, listen, I think every headmasters in Jamaica should have 2 or 3 of these books in the school.
And it works?
And the government, the Minister of Education, they must assist and purchase for the schools. Because what is in the school is what you need to say to the children and the parents.
I'm thinking about one, NIS. Let's start with NIS.
Yes.
If NIS gave every person,
they would have less calls. The health insurance.
Exactly.
The health insurance companies.
The pension funds people.
Yes.
I spoke to the head of the Pension Fund Association. Yes, I want to put together a meeting because if you give a copy of this book to all your people who are in pensions funds
and they follow
at age 50, they reduce. They can live much longer. And by the way, you mentioned education.
Yes.
There was an article in the New York Times yesterday that pointed out that the longevity gap is in the US.
I saw that.
People who are less than a college education, they're way behind those that who college and higher.
Behind those who have had more education and therefore are able to take care of themselves, to reach out to others, to have less psychological.
Absolutely. It is. You saw the gap, and the gap is getting wider.
Yeah, it's about 8 years or something like that.
Dr. Sabat, it's the audio version that you have. There are a lot of people who can't read, but they can understand what they hear.
Oh, yes.
And if you get it out there, that is something, rather than watching TikTok, jumping up and down. They sit back and
No,
listen.
we're working on it. We're working on it.
Going to guide them and guide their life into the future.
But there are a lot of people who will say, boy, that's all right for people like Charles and Samaj and Thwaites, because they know where their dinner is coming from. The majority of the deterioration, the premature deterioration that takes place is due to prevailing economic circumstances. How do you reply?
You encourage them, Ronnie, that it is not late.
Let him reply.
No, look, I have seen some of the most interesting people. Are people who literally, because of the understanding that they can turn their hand, make fashion. Oftentimes, we have to show them what they can do. One thing in the book, we talk about your encore career. What do you do now after retirement to keep the mind alive and to earn more money and to do things for your community and earn a living?
Yes.
So that we answer those questions too, because if persons don't know how they can make things happen, we talk about the family connection. Without it, you die. Because you need to. What can you do now for your younger generation, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your relatives? So we address those things, because you can't just limit it to, all right, if you have the money. I remember I did the strategic plan for National Health Fund for the first 6 years.
Really?
And in year one, the first thing I did was change the motto. The first motto was to ameliorate the cost of healthcare. I said, we'll never be able to do that. How about you let people understand that your health is your responsibility?
Right. Wow.
That's what we changed it to. Because you can't provide enough drugs.
Yes.
But if people take responsibility, lifestyle issues, behavior change issues are the most critical things.
But then you see, how do you do this within a society where, if you look on the television advertisements at news time at night, two-thirds of them are for substances that can only make you unhealthy rather than healthy. Yes?
And on top of that, Ronnie, I've been commenting that people 50 and over have more spending power than those under 50.
Well,
yet still 90% of our media is talking to 18-year-olds and 25-year-olds.
Well, look at that. How do you deal with a situation where the bent of popularly of state-supported culture is that for dissoluteness and for hedonism, none of which is inuring to the best ways to secure longevity. I mean, the state is carrying us, the state broadly defined, mass media, the cultural elements are carrying us in the wrong direction.
Let me encourage you, Ronnie. Let me encourage you.
One I proposed a long time ago was that people sit on retirement, that same NIS fund, person should be able to apply for it, for a grant, whatever the amount, to start a little business, on the condition that they now employ 2 young people and they socialize them in terms of what their knowledge had with.
You're a social engineer, Mr. Charles, what you're saying.
I want to encourage you.
Yes, because we're ending up.
Because I see that you're getting discouraged at the current. Some of what is happening now, we can't blame them,
Blame who?
Who is involved now?
The government is short-sighted. The government...
Somebody has to take the responsibility now to transmit to them what Samaj is writing in his book, telling them how to do it.
Which is why we have this interview today.
And this is why I'm glad that he has some audio part that if you can't read, you can't listen.
But the people
you can't listen.
Indeed.
No, they take the book and catch door. But they will listen.
But...
Buy my book and catch door. Don't open up the catch door.
Oh, I tell you, Lord.
Pernell, I have your book I bought your book, Pernell.
But it's not catching the door.
With you behind the bars, looking out. No, man.
Please, I would like to get the audio version and a copy of the book.
Have you launched yet where they came?
Not officially. I launched in Florida, but not officially in Jamaica yet.
Very well.
I'm in discussion with a bookstore to carry, so I have a meeting with them next week.
Give us the news.
I will definitely, Ronnie.
Yes. And thanks so much for today and always. Dr. Leakim Samaj, well-known public psychologist and wise person about the important aspects of Jamaican life. What a diverse program we've had today, Mr. Charles. as usual.
Yes,
and
but I am still sorry for you.
You're sorry for me.
Because
I
the
need sorrow.
way you are sorry for, where you're sorry for others, and you believe that the problem can be solved overnight.
No,
cannot be solved overnight.
I don't think it can be solved overnight.
And the government can solve the problem.
The government can do much better than feathering its own nest, which it largely does.
Oh, well, not only the government.
Yes, agreed. There
are more people.
There's an ethic of selfishness.
And could be doing more for the people of this country than those who are in parliament.
Right, so therefore what we do is to end on the principle that brings us here together and which unites us with all of the differences that follow. We believe in the common good of the Jamaican people, and that all that we do in public policy and in private life must be consistent with that. Can I get an amen from
I'll give you a double amen.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your colleaguery on the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM today. Thanks to you, Jeff. Thanks to all those who make it possible. And if life spares, we'll be glad to come back next week and crave your company.
And for all our diaspora people who are listening to us,
let us
greet them today. Wish them a happy week.
Indeed.
And come back next week with us.
That's the epilogue of the program. Till then, take care.